Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. This is the second Sunday in August 2020. I want to talk to you about a cashless society. And I know you're looking at me and saying, really? Really? Before there was a coin shortage, and right now there is a coin shortage, try getting a roll of quarters at the bank. Before that, cash was under attack in the media and portrayed as a COVID-19 hazard. It wasn't long before CNN berated the American people for using cash. One headline read, "Do not take a bunch of cash out of the bank," and "Dirty Money, the case against using cash during the coronavirus outbreak." Two of the articles they ran. CBS News also ran an anti-cash story at the same time, while other mainstream networks were playing with it as well. But more recent stories feign concern about the growing suspicion of an impending digital coup against paper and coin money. We're now being told to watch for moves away from cash. That there's nothing wrong about questioning who would benefit and who would lose in a cashless society. So, are you a conspiracy theorist? Or are you just merely an astute observer? It was just last year that Bank of America's CEO Brian Moynihan said, "We want a cashless society." End of quote. With that, big banks and financial institutions would reap the obvious benefits beyond saving on the cost of transacting in coins and paper, as well as transporting them. They would have that much more data to collect in bulk on you, their customer. In the end of cancel culture, other more nightmarish consequences are easier to imagine. Think being banned from financial platforms. As such, you would not be able to get at your money, buy online, transfer cash. The difference between being banned from social platforms and from financial platforms is a matter of degree, and the latter is already happening. Those who are pushing for a cashless society tend to see no downside. They aren't worried about finding an under-the-table side hustle for working for tips. They aren't young people out trying to mow a lawn or otherwise priced out of the market or regulated out of the market by minimum wage and child labor laws. The big players thrive in heavily top-down regulatory regimes. It's the smaller ones who might improve their standing and or need the freedom that cash provides. So what does a cashless society mean? Well, it means the obvious. No cash in your pocket. Only digital script. So, though on the plus side, free checking, other special access to your money, inclusiveness, equality, both guaranteed. Perhaps negative interest rates where the bank pays you interest. Why? To get you to move your money into their bank and to move their stagnant money around. European and Asian banks are already doing this sort of thing. They're doing it because monetary policymakers were afraid Europe was at risk of falling into a deflationary spiral. They wanted people to hold on to their cash. There's also the subsidizing of free checking accounts or other special access to the financial system. All we have to do is get the cash out of the way. Moving digital money is easier than having to produce cash to support the balance sheet. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell expressed his aversion to negative interest rates for now back in May. But President Trump and other monetary theorists support the idea. With negative interest, there's no savings accounts. Consumerism is king. Where we are not receiving stimulus packages in this other environment, we would be encouraged to spend. The permanent stimulus would become a compulsory force rather than a relief amid the downturn. And we're starting to see some of it even now. As I mentioned, have you tried to get more than 1 or 2 rolls of coins? What's that about? It's about spending, or rather the lack thereof. With the lockdown, people are buying online, digital currency. And when they do spend locally, the tendency is to use a debit card. So we have a coinage problem. Coins are not circulating. Some chains are refusing to give change, instead choosing to donate the extra cents to charity or otherwise digitize the value for the customer in their next shopping trip. As Clifford Tice of the American Institute for Economic Research explains, there's a good reason behind the coin shortage. It's fairly well known that pennies cost more than they're worth to produce. But there's also the addition to their total cost and time lost in counting them, in transactions as well as transportation. Thies estimates the use of pennies costs up to $500 million a year. That's the use of penny, not the cost of the pennies. The use of the pennies, which may be more costly than simply rounding off prices to the nearest nickel or dollar. Thanks to monetary inflation, these same dynamics have had an effect on nickels, dimes, and quarters, which are all produced with much cheaper metals than their original form required. And therein lies the answer. Look at the record high prices of gold and silver. The US dollar is being digitally printed into oblivion, along with trillions upon trillions of dollars being summoned by the Congress to fund multiple COVID-19 relief bills. Cash may be the last bastion of value as it retains some scarcity in relation to digitized dollars. It may actually become more important for people's livelihood and freedom, meaning that it be defended vigilantly. Don't let the media shame you into common complacence regarding a cashless society. It's only crazy not to question such a system. They clearly some have no qualms about forcing on us. Just keep in mind, one day, digital money is all you'll have. That's if you're here. I don't plan to be here because I'm old. I also expect to be hauled out of here before that happens. But it's happening at such a rapid rate, we could all be very surprised. Young people will love it. They got it on their phone. They never want to get their face out of the phone anyway, so now their money's all there. It's us old guys that are going to have a hard time. But it's coming. Just like Jesus.